Do you think you have what it takes to be a head coach in the SEC? Do you think you have what it takes to go up against names like Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, Brian Kelly, Lane Kiffin, and a ton of others? Probably not, but we're going to find out who is actually the right guy for the Texas A&M opening. If you're brand new here, welcome on into the channel. My name is Cole Thompson. I'm a radio show host, not qualified to be the next head coach at A&M, but I do love talking about college football. And if this is the type of content you enjoy, this is the channel made for you. So hit the subscribe button down below. Tell your friends, your family, your sister, your brother, your pastor, your best of bros, your mortal enemies, some random drunk guy in a Publix parking lot about this channel. Because if we get to 1,000 subscribers in the next 3 days, very tall ass, but still, I'll shave my head live on air. All this long hair is getting gone on Wednesday, but if you want to see me shave it live on air, tell everyone to subscribe, and let's continue to talk college football. Jimbo Fisher's out of a job. It's been announced by Ross Bjork that change has come to College Station. And for the first time in 6 years, there will be an opening in the SEC West when it comes to the Aggies. And this is a big deal because of A&M treats itself like it is a top 15 program in college football. They have the resources like a top 10 program. They, in my opinion, are a top 10 program in terms of talent. Now, that talent, depending on what happens when the transfer portal kicks in, is a whole different story. But this is a team that can compete for national titles, compete for definitely SEC championships, and certainly the college football playoff. They have the resources, they have the funding, they just need the right head coach. And what's interesting is that unlike when athletic director back in the day, Scott Woodward, signed Jimbo Fisher to a deal in 2017, they're going in blind this year. They don't know who they're hiring as a head coach, according to people that I've spoken to. They honestly are trying to rid themselves of what was the Jimbo Fisher era, what wasn't working, get them in the right frame set, right mindset, and hopefully they'll land somebody who can go ahead and be that piece de resistance, kind of like what Fisher was supposed to be. But they don't have an idea. So who are the top names to watch for? I think everyone's going to go to the number one name, which is very evidently clear. It's going to be Mike Elko. Mike Elko at Duke basically went on a 2-year retreat to learn how to be a head coach. And besides that, he's done his part. And Duke's already a very challenging place to win. If you don't know what the Blue Devils football program has been like for years on end, I hate to break it to you, it's not fun. It has been a downtrodden dismay of disaster for years in Durham. Outside of a few great seasons from David Cutcliffe, outside of a few great seasons from Steve Spurrier, it hasn't been anything. But Mike Elko has made it into something, which is really impressive in itself. And he's doing so because of excellent defensive performances. He's doing it with backup quarterbacks because if he's now on his third string quarterback, he's got 9 wins in year 1. He's on pace to finish with anywhere between 7 to 8 wins in year 2. And more specifically, he's playing competitive football. And he knows how to recruit. And he's done so at an elite level, whether it be at Notre Dame, whether it be at Texas A&M, at Wake Forest. And he probably was part of, if not the sole reason why a lot of these defensive players joined the 12th man to begin with. So it would make sense after his success in Durham, he comes back to College Station. He is going to be a hot name on the market for a lot of different coaching jobs this offseason. I wouldn't be shocked if he is the hire. I'm not sure he is the front runner, but he definitely is going to be in the running. Speaking of being in the running, but maybe not a front runner, Lane Kiffin. I don't know if Lane Kiffin will leave Oxford. I think that when you look at the persona of what came last year, where Auburn came calling and he didn't take the job, it definitely seemed at that point, okay, well, he is going to be in Oxford for the foreseeable future. But last night, Ole Miss loses because of they don't have the exceptional amount of talent that a team like Georgia has, that a team like Alabama has. And 10-2 and a New Year's Six bowl bid, or 10-2 and a college football playoff appearance but early exit, might be the most you're ever going to get at Ole Miss. That's just the bottom line. And Lane Kiffin, in my opinion, is a top 10 coach in college football. He's done an exceptional job offensively, working the transfer portal in his favor. Now, imagine if you gave him the resources that Jimbo Fisher had at College Station. We talking about national championships? We talking about college football playoff semifinals? We at least talking about you being in the running for an SEC title? Because that's really where we are with these two sides. Kiffin needs the right players because if he's doing everything he can to make Ole Miss relevant, but A&M needs the right coach, and they already have the players and they already have the staff. I don't think it happens, but it wouldn't shock me if at least that was in the conversation starter. Dan Lanning. I'm going to come out and say this one. Dan Lanning is not going to be an option. Now, I do think Dan Lanning is absolutely the right coach. That is the number one option for anybody out there. And Dan Lanning has earned the right because of how he's been able to build Oregon up to a pedigree of dominance. He's been able to truly transform Bo Nix back into what a lot of people thought he was going to be when he was at Auburn. The defensive line is so sound. The offensive line, that's what you've been missing in College Station for the last 3 to 4 years. And more specifically, he understands what it means to recruit in the SEC. He's not going to be a coach that doesn't come from a background like let's say Mike Norvell or say a Sharon Moore, if he were to be an option from Michigan. He gets SEC background because if he's a disciple of Nick Saban, he's also a disciple of Kirby Smart. He was the defensive coordinator, so he gets defense, and he also knows the lay of the land, which is phenomenal if that's what you're looking for. The problem is that Oregon was really smart this time around when it came to offering him a brand new contract because they watched as Mario Cristobal and Willie Taggart found some success in Eugene, and then the second that their dream jobs came open, they ran for it. And so what they did was they put in a $20 million buyout to where they're saying, you can come get our coach, but you're basically paying for part of our coaching staff next year. And so $20 million for a team like A&M that just spent $76 million to not have Jimbo Fisher on the sidelines and will spend up to $150 million for a brand new coaching staff, it's chump change. But at the same time, Lanning right now is not at an Oregon school that was probably at the same level of what we knew when Taggart was there or when Cristobal was there. He's there because of they're going to the Big Ten. They are going to be a team of dominance and relevancy because of the NIL era. And he also understands that this is kind of an expectation where it's reasonable. I don't think that when you look at A&M right now, fans are going to be elated with an 8-4 year if Lanning takes the Ducks to the playoffs. I think that they're going to want more consistency and more relevancy. So he may be very content at Eugene where Cristobal wasn't because he went home and Taggart wasn't because he went home. Dan Lanning's from Missouri. He's not leaving to go to Texas because he's from here. Like, that's not what the case is. So I don't think that he's actually a possibility, but if there is a way, you got to ask. I mean, you just have to ask and see if it's possible. Next up, Kalen DeBoer, Washington. Kind of the same thing. Honestly, one of the best offensive minds in the business. He comes from the NIAA level, which was at South Dakota State and the very, very low tier. And he worked his way up. He found success as an offensive coordinator when he was at Indiana, which is extremely hard to do. He found success replacing a great legend at Fresno State and Jeff Tedford. And in 2 years, he's lost 2 games with the Huskies. Jen Cohen signed him to a really smart deal for $12 million of a buyout. And the new athletic director that's coming in is doing everything possible to offer him a brand new contract. And so I think that right now, when you look at the same conversation we're having with Dan Lanning, we can have with Kalen DeBoer. The difference is that one is an offensive-minded coach versus a defensive-minded coach, and the age gap. Kalen DeBoer is 49. 49. And then Dan Lanning's 37. So that's really what we're kind of going with here, is that an older guy versus a younger guy. Jimbo is 58, so you're hoping that he's got like 15 more years, but still 58, 49, 37, you can build with that for a little bit. I just don't see where DeBoer is actually going to be an option. I think he likes Seattle. I think he's done really well on the West Coast. But again, it's $12 million buyout. You got to at least make a phone call. I heard the name Mike Norvell be thrown around. I don't think it happens. I think that it's a possibility that you at least see if he's interested. But you have to realize that right now, one of the major concerns for you is that you are going up against coaches that are playing for potentially a college football playoff. And they're not going to leave in the middle of the night to join your university because they have their own goals. And so it's a little different when it comes to now early signing period and you're trying to get a ball rolling. Mike Norvell is a completely different spectrum than Jimbo Fisher. Like Norvell had to take over a program that was in a desolate wasteland after Willie Taggart, and he has turned that around amazingly, mainly due to the transfer portal and great recruiting. But he also has implemented his offense, and he's implemented a great defensive outing, which whoever is his coordinator at the times, and they always seem well prepared. Now, that's a testament because of this is a team that I think should have lost already 3 games this year. And the reason why they haven't is because of Norvell as that guy. And Norvell does an exceptional job when it comes to bringing in the right names. He does a great work of building relationships with players. And he's also been around the block. He's been all across the southeastern region, and he knows what SEC recruiting is about because of he has to go up against South Carolina and Florida and Georgia and LSU and Alabama. So I think that when you have that in mind, it's at least a factor where you could say he's different than Jimbo. He just comes from the same school. If they find a way to miss out on the college football playoff, maybe we give him a call. Just see what he's all about. I got 2 more for you real fast. Jonathan Smith at Oregon State is a name that's not going to get brought up enough. And I probably will do my own video on him just for being a head coaching option. The dude deserves an opportunity. He does. Because if you're hearing about all these coaches that are getting looked at for other Power 5 jobs, and here's Jonathan Smith sitting in Corvallis, Oregon, where the Beavers have a shot of going 10-2 this year, if not 11-3 or 11-2. They are playing exceptional football defensively. They've done a great job of building the offensive and defensive line, an area of strength that where you're looking in Texas A&M. They know how to play up to their level of competition. And Jonathan Smith, for those of you that don't realize, took over after Gary Anderson resigned. And he has basically turned this program into a team that maybe isn't good enough to win a Pac-12 title, but they're a team that's going to play spoiler every single week. And kind of that's where A&M is right now, where they're not good enough to beat Alabama, but they are good enough to hold their own against a Tennessee or against a Ole Miss. And honestly, they have played well against Alabama in the last few years. So that's even kind of a lie if we're being completely honest with each other. I think Smith is a great name. I think he does a great job, and he's a quarterback by design. So his mind working with a guy like Connor Wegman, working with a Max Johnson, Marcel Reed, whoever else is an option, that's kind of what you want, is somebody who's been in their shoes and somebody who understands what it means to win in dire situations. And that's all he's done when he's been in Corvallis. So I'd give him a phone call. Last name, and I think that this one's very far-fetched, and I'll give you the one that I'm actually going to go with as wild card. Jeff Traylor. Traylor at UTSA has been phenomenal. The guy has won over 36 games. Not to mention, he's also won the Conference USA title twice. He's 6-0 in AAC play this year, which is a first for them in the brand new conference. He's really only had one bad game, and it was, in my opinion, the Houston game in week 1. Like, this is a UTSA team that is not going to be good enough to make it to the New Year's Six Bowl, but they are good enough to be probably a ranked team at the end of the year. And if not a ranked team, they'll get at least a couple of AP top 25 votes. And he's done this every single year. Like, every year he has been well respected, and he has fought and bullied and boned his way up the ladder. The main thing is that he's going to get a job very soon. And maybe Baylor fires Dave Aranda. Maybe Dana Holgorsen leaves Houston. Arkansas with Sam Pittman, I think, is going to be a wild card. And honestly, he has experience coaching in Arkansas. So there is going to be an opportunity for Jeff Traylor within the next year. I think when you look at him right now, you probably want to act fast. And his buyout's very, very cheap. And he only is making around like $3 million a year. So if you're trying to save money and get a good coach that understands college football and understands Texas high school football recruiting, Traylor was a 4-time coach of the year at the 4A level for Gilmer, and Gilmer High School won 3 state championships underneath his watch. So there's reasons to believe that he can at least build a staff, get the right kids in the building, and put an attentiveness on winning in the state of Texas when it comes to recruiting, which does wonders for the background of Texas A&M. The wild card. And the reason why this one's a wild card is not because of I don't think he would be interested. It's his A&M interested. Lance Leipold at Kansas. And the reason I say Lance Leipold being the wild card is Jimbo Fisher was fired at 58. Dennis Franchione was fired at 58. Mike Sherman, if I'm not mistaken, was fired at 58. And Lance Leipold is pushing 60. So you're getting an older coach, a guy who seems well on his way at Lawrence, very content with the Jayhawks, and probably maybe has a decade left of coaching, if that. Or is that really what you're going for? Because if that's the case, then by all means, Lance Leipold actually would probably be my number one pick. Throw him a blank check and see what he can do, because the man's won everywhere. Everywhere. The man has been successful. At Wisconsin Whitewater, he won 6 national titles in 8 years and over 100 games. At Buffalo, he became a superstar, and that's how he got the job at Kansas. And Kansas won 20 games in 11 years. 20 games in 11 years. Lance Leipold's won 15-3. The guy has an opportunity to finish the season off maybe 9-3, if not 10-3. There is a very good shot that they continue to pile up victories. And if they get another upset win, they're not in the running anymore to make it to Arlington, but they still are a team that's going to finish well above expectations and what you expect in Kansas. Michigan State's interested. I would not be shocked if Northwestern becomes available, which I don't think it will because of what David Braun's done. That becomes an option for him. They're going to be options on the table for Lance Leipold. And Kansas, which is investing over $300 million in their athletic complex for the new stadium, they're going to do whatever they can to keep him around. I don't think A&M goes after him personally, but I will say this. If there is an opportunity to bring him to College Station, the man can win anywhere. That's kind of the bottom line. And at the end of the day, the 3 things that you're looking for is somebody who can build a culture, whether that be in the recruiting trail, whether that be in the complex of the city, in the building, in the athletic facility. Number 2, a guy who can win. And that's all he's ever done. And number 3, and probably the most important thing, the ability to sell yourself. And Leipold has sold himself to younger players, to older players. He's kept people in Lawrence, and he's gotten the community to rally behind him. That would be a very big wild card for me. I don't think it happens, but if somehow, some way, Ross Bjork is willing to make that phone call, that might be the one that you want to make, because the dude is just going to win. And if he's going to win for East Lansing and he's going to win in Chicago, wouldn't you rather him win either in College Station than anywhere else? Just my 2 cents. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching that video. Don't hit the X button yet. Make sure you hit subscribe to keep up with all of our daily content found on Just Saying It and anything else that we post on this channel. Bye.